Dazn is increasing their price point for the fans to $19.99 a month. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Hold on one second. Now, news broke that Dazn is up in their price point. I did a live stream. Make sure you guys check that. That one went kind of long, so I had to make another video for, my people who work and have to babysit and have kids and stuff. You see there's multiple articles. 4 hours ago, Los Angeles Times, Bloomberg, Dazn to raise monthly price and offer new annual pass. Sports streaming site Dazn thumps monthly users with a 100% price hike. So, Bloomberg talks about top business issues. Sports streaming site Dazn thumps monthly users with a 100% price hike. They've doubled the price. Dazn, the boxing heavy streaming service that's trying to gain traction in the US, is tweaking its pricing to coax fans to purchase 1-year subscriptions. Starting next week, the monthly rate will double to $19.99 from $9.99. Executive Vice President Joseph Markowski said in a letter on the company's website. The annual pass will be $99.99, cheaper than the current monthly rate. For Dazn, pronounced Dazn, the goal is to sign more long-term customers, a possible way to stave off the monthly churn that dogs streaming services and raise the price for viewers who parachute in for a major fight once or twice a year. Existing customers will keep their current prices for the next year. The company has invested over $1 billion in U.S. content in the past year, mostly in boxing. It has a $1 billion partnership with Matchroom Boxing and has signed long-term deals with both Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. It's also recently won the rights to a nightly baseball show featuring live look-ins. The company is backed by billionaire Lynn and John Skipper, the former president of ESPN, its chairman. Right? So there it is. Some people on the live stream said I made it up and all kinds of stuff. Los Angeles Times also reporting on it, and it says Dazn to raise monthly price and offer new annual pass. The less than 1-year-old streaming service Dazn is adjusting its pricing, and it starts a new Major League Baseball live look-in show ahead of busy schedule, etc. Much of the same. The original $9.99 fee. So the way it goes is if you are already signed up currently before next week, I'm presuming, or maybe before this announcement, one of the two, then you're locked into that pipe. So they're kind of like, it's almost like a scare tactic, where it's like, oh shit, I got to get it right now and lock into the $9.99. So they're hoping they receive a spike. And it says, quote, the annual cost broken down is just over $8 a month, and it will offer baseball, boxing, MMA, all you can eat for about the cost of one pay-per-view on Fox, Showtime, or ESPN, said Dazn's executive vice president. The pricing emerged as a result of company research of its undisclosed current subscriber base, undisclosed keyword, which he classified into two groups. Those called value seekers are primarily motivated by the feeling they are getting a bargain from their purchase, and those labeled flexibility seekers aren't as concerned with cost as they are with accessing Dazn's programming on an as-needed basis. Quote, in recognition of both, we wanted to propose a model that serves both optimally. No, you want to serve you optimally. Let's see, this is just business layman's terms. I'm going to put it in layman's terms. This is just business jargon. You want to suit you personally, and I'm going to get to that. Quote, do I expect initial blowback from... Here we go. It says, quote, do I accept initial blowback from the U.S. boxing fan, he asked. Yes, sure. It's the nature of the 21st century. We are making this change after a significant research project. In the end, I believe they will be understanding and recognize the continued value. You guys let me know in the comment section if you're planning on paying $20 a month, and we'll help them out. But I've got my tin hat over the abuse I'm expecting from social media. I will say we wouldn't make any change without this analytic. Of course they have an analytic, and the analytic is they probably don't have the subscriber base they thought they would by this point in the game, right? It says he assured the Dazn president or whatever, assured the current subscribers who opt to remain in the $9.99 monthly package for now will be able to transition into the $99 annual package, which is save you, it's $8.33 versus $9.99. So, save you $1 and some change. You can't really buy much with that, right? The flexibility seeker could now pay for the $19.99 monthly pass for May 4th and get the Canelo Jacobs fight, a Bellator welterweight tournament semifinal, the AJ US change-up show for 1/4 the price of a normal pay-per-view fight. The interest in and the value of the annual pass will continue to evolve as we continue to build our content beyond fight sports, said Markowski, who had helped Dazn align with major sports leagues in the other international markets. Listen, this is a major hit from Dazn. They've been out less than a year, roughly, as far as boxing, 7-8 months, and now they're already hiking up the price. To me, this is a red flag that they're not receiving what they're dishing out. All these, you see Golovkin on the screen, all these people, Canelo, I was born ready, getting these monumental paychecks and stuff like that, and now they have to justify it. So they tap into the consumer's pocket. Now, the bad thing about this is, in my opinion, how Dazn came into the game. Dazn came into the game trying to flex his muscle and separate itself totally from the other guys. Not Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, but the other guys, ESPN and PBC and Fox and Showtime, and even HBO Boxing, who kind of got out of the boxing picture. But they tried to come in the game anew, like, we're different. Pay-per-view is dead. Come fuck with us. And one of the reasons this is not a good look to me for Dazn is because it spells trouble, if you know anything about business. Because if everything was great, like I've said, there's times where streaming services go up, but usually the quality, the production value is going up as well. The catalog goes up. Dazn has not announced any new fights since this press release was announced about this fight. And, all the fights that are on the calendar are the fights we knew about. Canelo Jacobs and Sor Rungvisai versus Estrada, Gerald Miller, Big Baby Miller versus AJ. So they haven't, it's not like they released all these, like Netflix, for example. Netflix was $9.99, now it's like $13.99, which is still cheaper than Dazn. And you have this vast catalog, which is always changing. It recommends things for you. But the difference is Netflix has a lot of original content, like Black Mirror. They have shows like Peaky Blinders that is real popular. And you could get all this different content, Narcos and different things like this, and watch classic movies. And they keep producing more original series, more documentaries. Like there's one I watch called Drug Lords, right? And they keep doing that. So in order to keep producing at the highest level, I get it. Like they're giving you more and more. Like basically Netflix is giving you more content to choose from, and they're upping the ante. Their budget, like that Will Smith movie Bright had a crazy budget. Then they have another movie that's coming up, I think with, I don't know, Tom Hardy or something. I heard the Bird Box movie with Sandra Bullock was good. Things like that. You got Netflix, Luke Cage and Punisher. They were getting into the Marvel thing. So they're working it out and trying to figure out, the content that people like. So that makes sense. But with Dazn, they haven't really made any supplemental content announcements that we didn't already know about, yet the price is going up by 100%. $9.99 times 2. They've, in essence, and just like that, doubled their price point. Those aren't a good sign. Now, a lot of people told me that I was crazy for saying Deontay Wilder, he made the right choice not taking $100 million. The more you think about it, because there's a lot of unknown variables, like the success of Dazn long term. as this article said, or the one I read before, we don't know Dazon's numbers. We don't know what they're doing. They're trying to still get people, you know? And he's even admitting, like, you guys have to understand, this is the executive vice president, and he just told you. He told you in this Los Angeles Times quoted interview, do I expect initial blowback from the U.S. fan? Yes, sure. We are making this change after research. Of course, and the research to me is you don't have the numbers and the pool that you thought you would by now. So they have some good fights in Canelo versus Jacobs and Gerald Miller versus AJ. So to me, now that you notice this change is happening before those fights. So the best fights that they've probably ever had, because I like Gerald Miller versus AJ better than AJ versus Povetkin. And I like Canelo versus Jacobs a lot more better than Rocky Fielding. So just look at these implications. In less than 1 year, the best fights that are ever on your platform that people are actually somewhat or very excited about, especially Canelo Jacobs. I don't know how everyone feels about AJ versus Gerald Miller, but definitely Canelo Jacobs. So the two best fights of the year, you're already raising the price point, and it's going to be in effect before those fights come about. So fans haven't even really, they came in, how is this not trouble? How is this not spelling trouble? They came in the game saying $9.99 a month. See, we're not like those guys. We're not trying to gouge your pockets. We're not charging you $75, $85 for a pay-per-view. But before the biggest fights that they've ever had on the network, Canelo Jacobs is by far anything. Name a bigger fight than Canelo Jacobs that's taking place on DAZN. Name one. Demetrius Andre, Walter Katandakwa, Andre versus Artur Akov, Ted Cheeseman, Brandon Rios, Humberto Soto in Tijuana, Mexico. Gerald Miller versus Bogdad Dinu. Like, what are we talking about? Katie Taylor. So by far, without a doubt, unless you guys can prove in the comment section a fight that's bigger than Canelo Jacobs, this is the biggest one. Before that even happens, they've already doubled the price by 100%. And who knows if the price point lasts at that? It could go to $24.99. So this to me wasn't a good thing. And that's why he's telling you, do I expect blowback? Of course you're going to get blowback from this. He said, he said, I've got my tin hat over the abuse I'm expecting for social media. So I wouldn't have never said that, because now you just opened the can of worms, because that's what you are going to get. And you just made it a public issue. So you already knew this decision was going to rub the people the wrong way. And for a lot of the man fans that came on my channel say, oh, this is the best deal. Oh, for $9.99, this kills Premier Boxing Champs. But now you look at it going up, you've just increased your monthly rate by 100% or double times 2, whatever makes you feel better, right? And we haven't even got to the biggest fight that you've ever had, which is Canelo versus Jacobs. Now it really makes me to think, and this, see, DAZN, I think they have a miscalculation, like they misjudged this. They kept saying pay-per-view's dead. Meanwhile, UFC still has pay-per-views, just did a great deal with ESPN, and then now they're distributing their pay-per-views also available through the ESPN Plus app. And they have a price point. I'm a ESPN Plus. I don't have DAZN right now, but they have an ESPN Plus deal where if you're an existing ESPN Plus member, you get $20. You get the UFC pay-per-views $20 cheaper, $59.99 instead of $79.99, right? But Top Rank, UFC, ESPN, very smart, just like Premier Boxing Champions. They've been in the business and they understand the market, and they didn't come in screaming for anybody who would listen that pay-per-view is dead. DAZN is the only one screaming that. And then you see what they're having to do to facilitate and justify, hey, no, guys, Golovkin and Canelo and Jacobs and AJ getting these big purses. Now they got to hit the consumers. And again, we understand prices sometimes increase based on demand or based on, we're trying to take this to the next level. I'm a business owner. My channel, if I want to do more, it takes money. I'm not a material person, but I'm not stupid either. If I want to cover more fights, I have to be able to justify the expense to go fly to the UK or fly to New York or wherever the fight is to cover, and a hotel for a week, eating out for a week, etc. Right? But DAZN, you know, they just doubled the price just like that. And they're trying to usher and push people to the premium, so they get $100 off rip, just boom. And the thing is this, $100, some people are going to say that's a good deal, but I don't think it's a good deal when I don't know. DAZN ain't been around in boxing. I only watch boxing. I don't watch MLB talk shows. I don't watch Jenny Jones and Ricky Lake or whatever the fuck they got on here. Cricket. I watch boxing, you know. Sometimes Bellator, but I really don't know a lot of all the guys and stuff. But anyway, this is the thing. It's $100 is not bad if you knew what you were able to get. So this will change where it says $9.99, because after this week is, you know, is going. So they're probably trying to get one last spike of people who get paranoid and hurry up and subscribe, trying to lock into $9.99 a month, and then it's going up to double. But here's the thing. Here's the thing when it comes to this whole DAZN thing is, I have an Amazon Prime, and I've said this before. I have an Amazon Prime, and as far as Amazon Prime is concerned, I've been using it for years, and I know that I'm getting my money's worth because of the free shipping alone, not including Amazon Video, Amazon Music, Amazon Photos, and the other perks to having Amazon. Like, just off shipping alone, throughout how much stuff I buy from Amazon, getting expedited 1-day shipping on orders over like $25, $30, and saving and getting 2-day shipping is advantageous for me. The thing is with DAZN, their calendar is still, it's not a calendar where you're just like, oh yeah, okay. They don't have a track record. You get what I'm saying? Like, they don't have a track record where we can honestly say, you know what, here's $100 of my money up front, no questions asked. I know you're gonna have the biggest and best fights. You know, I can't say that. I mean, if you guys feel that you can't say that, then let me know. Like, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. I want to hear what fights that you're anticipating. Canelo Jacobs a good one, etc. But you can't say that you know and you have the, I guess you could say, confidence that the end all be all, the greatest fights are definitely going to be on DAZN. See, here's an example. DAZN, they said 1 yearly price for all this and much more. # watch on DAZN. Okay, so let's look at it. They have obviously Triple G, Canelo, Joshua, and Chandler. These are the fights. March 28th, change-up debut. March 29th, Jose Alday versus Gustavo Lopez 2. I don't even know who that is. You know, March 30th, you have somebody who's like really big on Instagram, but he's still like on his journey, in Ryan Garcia versus Jose Lopez. I don't know who Jose Lopez is. Obviously, I know Ryan Garcia, but this is not what I would call like a step-up fight, and this is their main event on DAZN. Here's another main event, April 13th, Jaime Munguia versus Dennis Hogan. You have a 154-pound champion in Jaime Munguia, exciting fighter to watch, and I don't even know his opponent. I guess it's Hulk Hogan's son or something. Oh yeah, brother! You know, I really don't know who he is. And this is a title defense. And see, that's what I'm saying. Stuff that you see on Premier Boxing Champs as the co-feature or undercard are some of DAZN's main events. Like, is Jaime Munguia versus Dennis Hogan really a main event type of fight? But this is what Golden Boy and Eddie Hearns like are concocting, right? April 26th, Sor Rungvisai versus Estrada rematch, part 2. HBO had the first fight. It was a good fight. HBO didn't cost $20, and you have a ton of other programming that you have access to by having an HBO subscription, like Game of Thrones, Ballers with The Rock, You know, LeBron has a new talk show or whatever reality show on there. So for DAZN, you're getting a rematch, and you have to pay $20 for the month of April for Jaime Munguia, Dennis Hogan, Sor Rungvisai versus Strata 2, which is a solid fight. The undercard has Jesse Vargas versus Humberto Soto. I don't know who's just been chomping at the bit to see that fight. You know, Humberto Soto at 151 versus Vargas. You know, I thought he was a 147 pounder, so I guess he's moving up, really trying to fight Jaime Munguia. Then later you have Rory McDonald in Bellator versus John Fitch. As boxing fans, you know, this is so that's March and April. You know, you would be paying $40 for those fights. And then they have the World Boxing Super Series, which was free on Facebook and free on YouTube streaming last year when HBO and Showtime didn't purchase the World Boxing Super Series. Regis Prograis versus Kirill Relic. I'm just interested in the World Boxing Super Series in general, right? I like Regis Prograis, but he's fighting a guy that fought Rances Bartholomew on Showtime, and it didn't do no crazy astronomical numbers, you know? So I really don't know how much, you know, people are vested. Real boxing fans, maybe, for the World Boxing Super Series, but these aren't the types of fights that lure in casuals. Then May 4th, the big one, the best fight DAZN's ever showed, Canelo Alvarez versus Daniel Jacobs. No qualms or quarrels about that. You know, it's a great unification. You know, so we shut up about that. But then May 11th, their shoulder programming to follow such a great fight like Alvarez, Canelo, and Jacobs is a Bellator event that has nothing to do with boxing. Michael Chandler versus Patricio Pitbull. And then you have Neo and Nui versus Emmanuel Rodriguez in the World Boxing Super Series. I mean, these just aren't like fights that stand out, especially for casuals. So this would be, with the new price point, that would be $60 you just spent for those fights. So you got a lot of fights, but you know, how big were the events? And then June, of course, Anthony Joshua versus Gerald Big Baby Miller. They haven't put Gerald Miller in the toughest of fights. They had him fighting a guy from Romania who's part-time boxer, part-time SWAT team, the Romanian SWAT team, in Dog Bandinu, you know, and then now they're throwing him in Joshua. Maybe it's a good fight, but we don't really know enough about Miller, and people want to see Joshua take a bigger chunk out of the heavyweight pie, fight Wilder, fight Fury, fight Luis King Kong Ortiz, or maybe even fight a Dillian White, and he chose the guy he wanted to. And then it says June, the return of Golovkin. So, you know, under this new model, you have March, April, May, and June. That's 4 months. I'm not the smartest brother in the world, but 20 times 4, that's $80. So you got a lot of fights, but if you don't look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4 times 3 rows, that's 12. So they're showcasing, they said, all this for $100 a year. Yeah, right? So they're showcasing 12 different events. Let's count how many aren't boxing, because I only like boxing, me personally, right? 1, change up, has nothing to do with boxing. This fight, Jose Alday, nothing to do with boxing. So that's 2 of the 12. Bellator, 3. Bellator, 4. Right? So 4 out of the 12, right, have nothing to do with boxing at all. And boxing is what they're supposed to be heavily vested in. Like, oh, this is what Eddie Hearn was saying. We're taking over the boxing game and things like that. So they're showing 12 events, and, you know, 3 of them are MMA, and 1 of them's baseball. Not even the baseball, it's like a talk show or whatever kind of show it is. That's 8. So you have 8 remaining fights. Obviously, Canelo Jacobs is the best to me. And then the second best would probably be AJ versus Miller or Sor Rungvisai. So you had 8 fights, and 3 of them are cool. Like, 1 of them's great, then 2 of them are cool. So what are the other 5 fights, you know? And then that's where you start getting to the Jaime Munguia, Dennis Hogan, Ryan Garcia versus Jose Lopez. So like I said, it just depends on how you look at it. But the way I'm looking at it is, they keep trying so hard to separate themselves from pay-per-view, and act like it's so much bang for your buck. This is not much different, because this calendar lineup would run you, if you let it, say you don't want to commit to a year and you just let it run on your credit card recurring, then you would have paid $20 from March to June, and this is the calendar. It just says the return of Golovkin. Who is that? And based on patterns from Golovkin and the rumors of who's Golovkin's supposed to fight, we can only imagine. See, this is the other fight, Oakley versus Camacho. Oakley, his last fight wasn't that interesting, or one of his last two, right? He ain't fighting like Dillian White, who he's beefing with right now. So you got to look at it. They get like this. I told you they should have left that pay-per-view as dead alone. Look, Edwards Moreno. How many people watch that? So I think they kind of jumped the gun and raised the price point too prematurely. They should have at least seen how much it either went up after the Canelo Jacobs and maybe Anthony Joshua. But that shows me they're trying to double up. They're trying to make sure, like, okay, so it's in essence, when you double the price by 100%, you just double the price. That's like every one customer now is like two customers. So they don't have, that leads me to believe, if I'm to speculate, that they don't have the numbers. They don't have the numbers in terms of built-in dedicated loyal subscribers. They didn't think this business model all the way through, and they didn't realize that people weren't going to stay loyal. Canelo has a lot of fans. They came for December to see what he was talking about with Rocky Fielding, and then they're like seeing this charge on their account in January or February or January, and they're like, nah, and canceled. And they underestimated the power of the casuals. There's a lot of people that are just going to dip their head in for big fights. That's why the price point is now, in my opinion, more outrageous based on what you're getting. Nobody has a problem paying, but we have to know what we're paying for. Look, up next, Bellator 218, Sanchez versus Kayan. I don't really watch MMA like that, So the amount of money that they're spending on individual athletes for boxing, that's great, but you got to make that back. And this is what I've been telling people. I told you the price would go up. I can't wait till I find that video. I can't wait, because I told you last year, I told you the price point was going to go up and the trial would probably go away. Big facts. So to me, this is an indication that DAZN, they're like, man, we got to start seeing the big picture here. We got to start seeing some progress and move the needle. That's why they doubled up the price. So now every one customer is like almost having two customers, because you raised the price by 100%. And I think this hurts them, because I've seen a lot of people saying they're canceling because of this. They're like, all right. And the $10 was their whole selling point. Like, oh, we're so much different than pay-per-view. But when you start increasing the pay-per-view, these are the cost of pay-per-views back in the UK. They cost about, 17 pound. They cost roughly about 23 American dollars, 24 American dollars. So DAZN, they came in trying to knock pay-per-view, and now the price points are getting closer to pay-per-views, especially if you're looking at for having it for a couple months. Like, let's say you got it for the Canelo fight and then you forgot to cancel it and it just charged you for 3 months. That's $60. So what did you get out of the $60 if you didn't watch the other fights because they didn't have enough big fights that interested you? And like I said, people said Deontay Wilder was tripping, but I told you, this DAZN is not, they got to earn their stripes like anybody else. This is what I've always said. They got to earn their stripes. And we'll see, we'll see how it all plays out. But I told y'all last year, and I'm even more vindicated with today's news in this. The price point is great. It was great at $9.99, but it's still dependent on what you're offering. It's all about that. I have a successful YouTube channel. People pay me. I've gotten hundreds of dollars in donations, like in one single donation, because people want to help the channel. So it's all about what you're giving back. It's all about what, the perception. And for me, DAZN had some issues with buffering, and I just haven't seen a complete schedule where it makes me rush out and want to give you $100 of my money. And that's like, I would never give someone 100% of the job, and I don't even know. Like, like let's say I wanted someone to paint a house, and then the cost of painting the house was $2,500. I'm not paying you $2,500. I'll pay you a deposit, to get us started. But why would I give you $2,500 and you could skip off on my money? You know what I'm saying? And just never come back. Oh yeah, I'm going to Home Depot, get the supplies, and just deuces and leave. I'm not doing that. And the same thing with DAZN. I have no problem with DAZN. I have no problem covering DAZN events. I have no problem building up the rightful fights, but you got to put them on there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not giving somebody $100 up front when I don't know their calendar. I don't know what they're doing in December, November, October, September, August. We don't know, because they don't have nothing that far out. And we don't even know, we don't have a year's calendar in boxing of credible fights that they've made that were the best in the business. Period. We don't, so it's like they banked all this money on this man and, signing big names. He's getting cashed out. He's taken care of. His family's taken care of. This is a great fight. But at the end of the day, like I said, I got to see more from DAZN, and I got to see more quality. Like, if you could convince Wilder and Joshua to go, then I would support that. If so it's going to get to the point where they're going to have to put these fighters in tough. How is it that Triple G can possibly fight Brandon Adams? That's the rumored opponent. Why does he fight him? Fights like this, Tevin Farmer and Jono, how that's good for Philly. I'm happy Tevin Farmer got a hometown fight, but how on the fight week of Mikey Garcia and Spence, how much traction did this get to the platform when it ran concurrent with a much bigger fight on Fox pay-per-view that they said did 350 to 450,000 pay-per-view buys and was more publicized? You get what I'm saying? So I'm just not understanding. I really don't. I don't understand some of the moves. It's not my business, so it's not my business in terms of my company. So it's not really fully for me to understand. But they got people who are making money or putting out money, but they're gonna have to start getting some of that money back. Because cards like this, I don't know how many casuals they really bring in, and then now you're raising the price point. People, that was very short-lived if you think about it. Very short-lived. This $9.99 price point, and guys like Eddie Hearn was like, "Yo, this is why you get DAZN. For $9.99, the cost of a bacon cheeseburger and a milkshake, you could get this." And now you have to supplement all these guys, their salaries, plus make it profitable. So like getting them on the network was one thing. Now who you gonna match him with? And especially this guy, Gennady Golovkin. Canelo's doing his thing. He's already in a tough fight. AJ's in probably a somewhat tough fight, whatever, even though it wasn't the guy we wanted to see him fight. But Golovkin, they talking about him fighting Brandon Adams because they're trying to keep him secure and as safe as possible and not put him in a dangerous fight with like a Demetrius Andrade, so he stays warm and hopefully wins. So Canelo hopefully wins, and then they can make this fight and be like, hey, for $20, you guys used to have to pay $85 for Canelo versus Golovkin. But I think even that will backfire because I don't know, man. I don't know who's calling the shots. But if you look at it historically, HBO pay-per-view, Canelo versus Golovkin did slightly worse in the second fight than the first fight did. That's backwards. Usually if a first fight ends in controversy, the second one does better, i.e. Mayweather Maidana, stuff like that. Ward Kovalev. Typically everything is elevated when there's controversy in the first fight. Wilder Fury would definitely do better than Wilder Fury 1. Canelo and Golovkin actually did slightly worse in viewership. So if that was trending down, what do you think a third fight? I know so many people that are like, man, I'm not even tripping off a third Canelo. I seen what I need to see in the first 2 fights. We already seen this for 24 rounds, you know? So I think even that could backfire. Even if, like, first of all, I don't think Jacobs is an easy opponent for Canelo at all. So Canelo could look vulnerable. He could, you know, be in a position where he loses. He could also be in a position where he wins, but some people say it's a gift decision. All that hurts a potential Triple G. And then even worse, because at least Canelo's fighting somebody game and tough. Even worse, if they match Triple G with anyone near the echelon of fighters that they've been rumoring him to fight, then it becomes even worse, because Triple G fighting, you know, guys that no one wants to see him fight doesn't really make people salivate for a Canelo third fight. So we'll have to see how it plays out, but I think they're overvaluing Canelo Triple G3, thinking just because it's cheaper, you know, it's going to be so much fanfare. Let me know what you guys think, and we out. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.